No matter who you are or where you are, lifting is an important part of your everyday life. Whether you're at work, at home, or at play, safe lifting is something you need to know about. Why? Because it's something many of us do incorrectly. And that translates into hundreds of thousands of lost workdays every year due to back injuries, and millions of dollars in health care costs. Not to mention the pain and suffering caused by these injuries, which can sometimes be permanent. Many of these injuries happen at work, but many others also occur in the home.
Oh, no.
However, no matter where you're hurt, a back injury caused by improper lifting will have a serious impact on your job.
I'm afraid Tony won't be into work for a couple of days. He hurt his back. No, fortunately, the doctor says he'll be fine with a little rest.
From moving a stack of files, to picking up a crate of parts, to taking out the garbage, lifting is something that most of us take for granted. And as we said, it's also something that many of us do wrong. But there are some people out there who give lifting the thought and attention it deserves. As many will tell you, from the weightlifter who lifts hundreds of pounds without even hurting a muscle, to the average person who lifts just a few pounds incorrectly and spends weeks in pain, lifting is something that must be carefully considered. What exactly is the secret of safe lifting? Well, it's partly physical conditioning, and it's partly proper technique. During the next few minutes, we're going to show you how to lift and carry safely and effectively so that you can get the job done while keeping your back in the proper condition. Let's start with lifting. And let's begin with a worst-case scenario. Ed here is trying to get Rover into the tub, but as you can see, Rover is being less than cooperative. So poor Ed is going to have to lift him in. And according to the rules of safe lifting, the first thing he has to do is size up the load. Of course, not everything that you have to lift is going to run away from you. But no matter what you have to lift, the principles are the same. And so is the need to follow proper lifting techniques.
Hey, Tony, I need some help over here.
Yeah, I'll be right there. I gotta find this other box. It's 2111C.
Think about how you're going to handle what you'll be lifting. Is it too heavy? Will you need help? Are there any rough edges, nails, or other hazards? Do you need gloves to lift this load safely? Once you've asked these questions, you need to take appropriate action. In other words, if the load is too heavy, get help or use a hand truck. If it's too bulky to handle safely, break it down into smaller loads. If it has rough edges, use gloves. In other words, you must do everything possible to make lifting safe. Now you're ready for the next step.
You're gonna love it. You're gonna love it. Yeah, just take it easy, guy. Just take it
Stand
easy.
close to the load with feet apart. And that's true no matter what you're lifting, whether it's a dog or a stack of newspapers.
I thought I told Joey to put those papers out 2 days ago.
Taking such a stance allows your body to remain balanced as you lift. Remember, if your feet are placed too closely together as you're trying to lift something, you can easily be thrown off balance by the weight of the load. Unfortunately, these first two preparatory steps to lifting are something that a lot of people forget, and yet they may be the most important of all. If you don't size up the load and put yourself in the right position to lift it, you may be setting yourself up for a painful back injury. Now let's see what the next step is. When getting ready to lift a load, you need to squat down, bending at the hips and knees, just like Ed is doing now. Angela is following the same step. Squatting down in this manner allows her legs to carry the weight rather than her back. Let's watch that again. Perfect. It's extremely important never to bend at the waist with your legs straight when you're lifting. Even with a light load, you would be putting undue stress on your back. Once you've taken the proper precautions and assumed the correct position, it's time to actually take hold of the load. Arch your lower back inward by pulling your shoulders back and sticking out your chest.
Hey, come on, we gotta get the bathroom.
No matter what you're lifting or trying to lift, It's important that the weight of the load be distributed evenly.
Honey, are you done? I need you inside.
Oh, I'll be right in. I just want to finish straightening this place up.
Arching your back, sticking out your chest, and pushing your shoulders back is the key to safe lifting. This is the very technique that weightlifters use. It allows them to lift hundreds of pounds without getting injured. Always remember that this step is a critical one. Because it distributes the weight of the load more evenly, it reduces pressure on the spine and the lower back and allows the bulk of the weight to be borne by the leg muscles. This next step is also a vital one.
Okay, I've had it with you. You're going to get a bad number no matter what.
Keep the load close to your body while you lift. And if you need to carry the load for any distance, it's important to continue keeping the load close to your body. Brian here's got the right idea. The closer the weight is to your body as you lift, the less pressure it exerts on your back. Again, the weight is shifted to your leg muscles, which are stronger, and that gives you more stability and control. Of course, lifting entails one more important step. When you set the load down, squat down, bending at the hips and knees, keeping your lower back arched inward.
Where are you going? No, don't roll in the dirt. Don't roll in the dirt. I just did. Oh.
Whether you're at home or at work, taking care to set a load down correctly is just as important as lifting it properly in the first place. The key to doing this safely is remembering to let your legs do the work. Of course, you're almost always doing more than simply lifting and then putting down a load. You're usually moving that load from one location to another. That's why you also need to keep these important tips in mind. When you have to walk and carry an object, no matter how heavy, maintain the posture that comes closest to normal standing. In other words, keep your ears, shoulders, and hips aligned. Make sure you're holding the load close to your body with your elbows close to your sides. Next, make sure the weight of the load you're carrying is evenly balanced. And last, always make sure that your vision is clear, that you can see over the load that you're carrying. If you have to carry something in only one arm, get it as close as possible to your elbow. This will give you extra support. And you can rest a larger load against your hip. If the load is too bulky for you to handle alone, get someone to help you. And if there's no one around, make 2 trips. Don't jeopardize your back for the sake of saving a little time. And this next tip will also help you to avoid back injury. You might not think of getting an object from an out-of-reach place, such as a high shelf, as lifting, but it really is. The trick is to bring yourself up to the load rather than to overreach. So use a stool or a stepladder, and make sure you have a firm footing and a solid grasp before you move the load. And when you need to move an object from one location to another, remember that twisting is not the thing to do. Sudden twists are responsible for a large number of back injuries. So instead of twisting, turn your whole body in the direction that you want to go. And there's one final thing to keep in mind. If you have equipment available, hand trucks or dollies, for example, be sure to use them. That's what they're there for. Of course, to lift and carry objects safely, you've got to be in good physical condition. Perhaps you've heard of the expression work hardening. In practical terms, this means getting the muscles that you need for your job in proper shape. For example, you want to strengthen the muscles in your lower back, your arms, and of course your legs, which should be doing the bulk of your lifting for you. Learning how to lift and carry safely is one of the most important things that you can do for yourself and your back. You'll quickly learn how easily you can put the points we've discussed today into everyday use, and the payoff will be well worth the time and effort you put into it. So let's quickly review the 6 points for safe lifting. First, it's essential that you size up the load. Think about what steps you have to take to handle it safely. Stand close to the load with feet apart. This allows you to remain balanced as you lift. Squat down, bending at the hips and knees. This allows your legs to carry the weight, not your back. Arch your lower back inward by pulling your shoulders back and sticking out your chest. Neglecting to take this important step can very well result in injury. Keep the load close to your body while you lift. The closer the load is to your body, the less pressure it exerts on your back. When you set the load down, squat down, bending at the hips and knees, keeping your lower back arched inward. Taking care to set a load down correctly is just as important as lifting it properly in the first place. When it comes to lifting, you can never be too careful. One moment of carelessness can cause you weeks or months of pain. So strain your brain instead of your back and think before you lift. Whether the next thing you pick up is a bag of groceries, a box of parts, or a stack of files, remember the lifting techniques you learned today. I'm sure Ed will.
Great.